Before we start, YouTube analytics show that 80% of you guys aren't subscribed, so real quick before we start, hit that red sub button down below. Thanks for all the support. Now, let's get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back. In this one today, I wanted to talk about some recent news that has been coming out for zombies in 2024. As some of you may know, Treyarch did recently release a leak of their next upcoming game, which is set to release in 2024. Now, this leak was a song by release on Spotify that we haven't heard before. It wasn't really something that was directly related to zombies. Most are saying that it's more so something related or connected to multiplayer, but it is a leak nonetheless. Now, I know it may not seem like there's much hope for zombies in the future looking at the last few releases for Call of Duty, but I do have some decently high hopes for COD Zombies in 2024, mainly because of the time that Treyarch had to work on this game. I mean, if we go as far back with Black Ops 4, for example, that game was rushed and covered with bugs and glitches because they had to release a month earlier than normal COD releases, and with the rise of Fortnite during that time causing last minute changes to the campaign as well, Black Ops 4 wasn't ready to fully be released. Then, not even after a full year after Black Ops 4 ended, Treyarch had to come in and help Sledgehammer and Raven Software with Black Ops Cold War Zombies, which did actually turn out to be really good when it came to the mechanics, but the maps suffered a lot, especially when it came to the amount of maps and the quality of each of those maps. I mean, if you look at parts of D Machine, you can tell that the bunker portion is more of a Sledgehammer design because of the dark, gloomy atmosphere, and the top portion is more of a Treyarch design with the nostalgia of Noct. And then once again, not even a full year later, after the last map of Cold War released, Treyarch had to come in again to save Sledgehammer with Vanguard Zombies, which we all know how that turned out. The point I'm trying to make is that for the last 3 Zombies titles by Treyarch that we've had have been all rushed or not cared for properly because of the time frame that Treyarch had to work with. This is going to be the first time in a while that Treyarch has had enough time to fully work on a project. Now, what this means is that the game isn't guaranteed to be good or super high in quality, but there's a good chance that in terms of mechanics, it'll be fully complete. No bugs, no glitches, nothing of that sort. So that's a good start for Zombies in 2024. Now, when it comes to the content in the actual game, I would expect something similar to Cold War or Vanguard, which isn't a bad thing. In terms of mechanics, Cold War is actually really good. It just lacks creativity when it comes to the maps and the story, and I think it can be a really solid experience. If you're going into 2024 expecting a revolution of zombies content, I wouldn't rely on it. With the new Modern Warfare 2022 engine, it's almost guaranteed to be different from the Black Ops 3 era of zombies, which again, I'm fine with because the Cold War zombies mechanics were actually very promising. I think if you want to get that old school zombies experience, however, you have to buy a PC and just play with customs, which for this year is actually going to be really good as well. There are so many creators out there right now that are working on remastering maps for a Zombies Chronicles 2 like experience. I mean, we already have Call of the Dead remade in Black Ops 3. I haven't personally played it because I haven't gotten a PC yet, but from what I've heard, it's really good, and from what I've seen, it looks like something that Treyarch would make for a Zombies Chronicles 2, which props to the creators for the effort that they put into that map. Big shout out to those guys. Speaking of Zombies Chronicles 2, I don't think it's ever going to happen. It was originally supposed to come out during Black Ops 4, but obviously we know how Black Ops 4 turned out. The last game it could have possibly released on was Black Ops Cold War, but even with the game being somewhat really good, it just didn't get the feedback necessary for Treyarch to implement Chronicles. And with the implementation of this new engine that's used in Vanguard Zombies, I just don't think that Zombies Chronicles is in the foreseeable future, which I'm fine with. I've said time and time again that Zombies Chronicles is not something that's necessary for the zombies community to survive, although it would be nice to have. In terms of maps and game modes coming out for this next game, definitely expect Outbreak. Outbreak was one of the most successful game modes ever released during Black Ops Cold War, and just zombies in general, almost surpassing normal zombies when it came to total number of players. We saw them prioritize it for Vanguard, so it's definitely going to play a huge role for 2024. Now, I'm not saying that there won't be any round-based zombies maps for the next game. After the flop of Vanguard, one of the huge complaints with that game was how lacking it was in terms of round-based maps, so I think we will see some sort of round-based maps for the next game. I think the best route that they can do is make an iconic map like Transit into an Outbreak map, and then just make every separate area their own survival map. I think that would be pretty cool, but knowing the recent history of Outbreak from both Vanguard and Cold Cold War, it seems to be a mix of both new maps and reuse assets from multiplayer, which again, I'm fine with. The only thing that I hope happens with this next game is that they add some sort of round-based map with an Easter egg and a compelling story, and an Outbreak mode with updated concepts, maybe even PvP. I don't really care too much about the map setting for Outbreak, as long as the layout is good and makes sense. I'd also like to see some other popular game modes that fans have been begging for the past couple of years, like Last Man Standing or Gun Game. Those would also be very nice to have. One thing I am worried about this next game is what this game is going to represent. Ever since Warzone was a thing, zombies and MP have kind of just been pushed off to the side, either not having a lot of players at all, or just focusing the shift from enjoying these game modes to just having another way to level up your guns for Warzone, which from a business standpoint I understand, but it does suck to see these staples to the COD franchise fade out in favor of a Battle Royale mode. Not only that, but with the story from Cold War, it was interesting, but I don't know how they're going to continue it without separating the core player base apart from one another. And what I mean by this is that with the Cold War zombie story, it was good, but only for the people who understood the older games. I don't see much of an appeal for newer zombie players. With Black Ops 3, it was done well because of how easy it was to follow the method of going from one map to another to collect souls, but with Cold War, the story is solely there to reminisce off of the old story from that time period, so it doesn't allow for newer players to get involved. And it's a hard situation to fix because with the Cold War zombie systems, they took the gameplay and made it a lot more accessible to newer players because of the lack of story, but then with the hardcore players, they had to suffer with nothing to do on each of these maps except grind for dark ether crystals. I think if they appealed more towards the casual audience with Outbreak and just kept the Easter eggs for the hardcore audience, I think it would be pretty good. Or even if they did something like World War II Zombies where they had a hardcore Easter egg and an Easter egg on the same map, that would be pretty cool to see as well. Overall, for this next Zombies game, I wouldn't expect it to be the next big thing or anything like what we had during the Black Ops era. It's going to be something more along the lines of what we had during Cold War, which honestly I'm fine with as long as they make the maps a little bit better. Anyways, guys, if you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, do all that. So leave your comments down below if you want to see me do any other type of content. Check down the description as well for more zombie-related videos. And yeah, I got nothing much else to say, so peace.